What's up YouTube? Capital G here talking about Juunishishi in this video and why I love this archetype so much. I really wish that this was in the Dark Illusion. I wish that we didn't have like sub-servers and spirals. I wish that we had these things now because they are just so amazing. So for anybody who has not played Juunishishi yet, or Zodiac Beast, whatever you want to call it, I live streamed yesterday and I streamed for about 9 hours, and I kid you not, just about every single match, every single game outside of maybe like 3 of them, either I was playing Juunishishi or I ran into it, and God, this deck just feels so incredible. And I don't even mean just from a competitive standpoint, which it does seem extremely good. I just mean from the standpoint of like the impact that it's going to have, not just on the meta, but like surrounding decks. And just the archetype is so much fun to play. Like, one thing about me is I've always been attracted to kind of like these hyper synchro, hyper fusion, hyper XC type decks. And when I say hyper, I mean a deck like Gem Knights as opposed to a deck like Gladiator Beasts. Gladiator Beasts really are just going to fusion maybe once or twice in a turn. You know, you guys have probably seen some of my replays with, you know, Gem Knights. When they go off, you can fusion summon like 4 or 5 times in a turn, maybe even more if you have like Brilliant Fusion. Or when I play like Utopia, it's one of the big things about Utopia that drew me into the deck is when you had like exchange tactics, you could like constantly rank up over and over and over again. Sometimes you exceed like 6 times in a turn, and Juunishishi is very similar to that. And I don't know why, I feel kind of stupid in hindsight. I looked at their mechanic of being able to just normal summon and go into an XC, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But it is just, oh my God, it is amazing. This is one of those things where I'm like, I don't think they should put this in any other archetype, because it's so incredible that it's just so monumental, game changing, and it allows you to go into things like F-Zero so easily. It's going to allow so many other Beast Warrior decks to be very, very playable. And I guess I can't really sum it up into words if I haven't, or if you have not played Juunishishi. That's why I've got a whole bunch of replays, but just the influence that they're going to have on other like Beast Warrior decks and so many other decks that benefit from their cards is amazing. And usually when I look at a new archetype, I'm very skeptical. Some people say I hype up everything. I really don't. I honestly, I undersell, like internally, I undersell everything. Like, if you ask me my honest opinion on Subterror and Spiral, I'm like, they're both garbage. Like usually when TCG archetypes premiere, they either like hit the ground running and you just know they're going to be good, like Cosmo and Burning Abyss, or they're, you know, like Ultra Athletes. And even, I honestly, I think Ultra Athletes are better than Spirals and what's it called, Subterror. So I look at those decks and I'm just like completely underwhelming. And it's because if you look at this game's history, Konami has released how many archetypes that are just, you know, kind of tier 3, kind of tier 2, don't really make that big of a meta. Maybe they find a niche following, can still be very fun. Decks like Gradles and Buster Blade or MBLS that just really don't do anything. But man, this deck is just, oh my God. And everything that I thought was going to just not be that good about this deck, it's like, it's really just not that much of a hindrance. Like, I looked at the Xyzs, right? So I looked at the Xyzs and I was like, well, you know, they only get attacked based on the materials that they have. They're really weak. But no, there's a lot of times in duels where people drop these things and by turn 2, they're like over 4,000 attack, and it's relatively easy. The deck has so many goddamn possibilities, and some of the cards that I looked at and I'm like, why did Konami design this card that way? Because I'm very apathetic about everything. Like, I understand, like, they did a really good job. For instance, the Jar of Avarice. I was like, man, when I first read it, I was like, oh God, we got to get 5 different, you know, Juunishishi cards with different names. You know, how that's going to be difficult. But then it's like, well, if you just summon Momorat, you drop it into the graveyard, you're probably going to exceed over Momorat. And then by the time, like, if you exceed 4 times in one turn, which a lot of times you can do in this deck, bam, there's 5 different names right there as soon as your card, as soon as your XC goes to the graveyard. And oh my goodness, guys, the possibilities of this deck. Like, one of the things that I also just wasn't sure about is, you know, they've got the continuous spell that can blow up other cards to summon a Juunishishi from the deck. That card's amazing, by the way. I was like, well, they only got a couple of monsters that really want to blow themselves up. But then I just thought, like, you know, you don't realize it until you start playing it. Like, hey, Fire Formation Tenki, Fire Formation Tensu, get your search and then blow up your own Tensu, or blow up your own Tenki. Like, it's so good. So I'm going to show you guys some replays, just showing you guys like the possibilities of Juunishishi. This is one of the archetypes where I can see like 6 months out, I already love this archetype. And I'm not innately drawn to a lot of archetypes. A lot of archetypes I'm just like, meh, I don't really care about that. So let me just show you guys a couple of replays. You guys were just going to see. I'm not really going to commentate these. This is me playing a Zoe Burger deck. It's a trash deck. Like it's one of the worst decks that we've ever built. But it's really not. This isn't obviously about the deck that I'm playing. It's more or less to just show you Juunishishi. This card right here, Drantia, I knew that she was good. Like anytime you have a monster that can blow up a face up on both players' turns, I knew that she was good. But like you see, turn one, it's already 3,200 attack, and I mean now you see Marmorat drop the Jar of Avarice into the graveyard, and just look how much damage on the board this deck can put. Like this is turn two, and you're going to see basically just me get OTK'd. Like 2 monsters over 4,000 attack, easy mode. Oh man, the fact that Viper can equip during both players' turn is so good. And then there you go. You got a 4,500 and a 4,100 easy. And keep in mind that the Drantia could have just blown up. Like if I would have had a monster on the board or anything like that, like Drantia still has a crazy element of control. Let me show you guys another one. I've got a whole bunch of replays loaded up. This is another one. This shows off OTKs potentially with Stoic Charge. I know a lot of people have probably thought about that in this deck just because of how many XC materials that you get. Man, it's so amazing. Like look how many. I like the fact that you can basically normal summon once like a Marmorat, and you can end up with like 3 XCs without really committing anything else on the board. Yeah, that's going to be very difficult for a lot of decks to get over. So you see you've instantly got the Drantia, which is just a nice control card. You've instantly got the Utopia Future. I think he has a Tenki set. And the Utopia Future is just a fucking difficult card to deal with. I mean, everybody will immediately point to Cap. What about Castel? Castel, I know. Castel outs a lot of stuff, but still, this card it's very, very annoying. Like, you know, you act like you're always going to be able to just go into Castel, like the deck won't have any back row, or like they won't just have Drantia to just blow your shit up. Like, look at this. You just vomit all over the field. You know, then you've got Stoic Charge. Now, the thing is, he does think he's going to be able to defend himself with a monster because obviously he didn't want to just get OTK'd. The problem is we do piercing damage, so yeah, I think you're just going to end up dying. He actually ends up taking more damage. Like real talk, he would have taken less damage even though he would have died. He would have taken less damage if he would have not summoned the monster rather than summoning the monster. But this is just some of the crazy shit that you can do with Stoic Charge, which it could be playable. I wouldn't suggest more than like maybe 1 or something like that. It's a little gimmicky. And this is finally me playing the deck. My version has actually changed a little bit since I built this first version of Juunishishi. I just kind of, you know, when I first built a deck, I don't know what the fuck to put in it. But this is kind of me playing Juunishishi. Once I kind of played it for a couple of hours, kind of understood some of the plays, I was like, oh, so this is how that works, and this is how that works. And all of the cards Konami has given the deck, like, they actually make a lot of sense. Like, I questioned a lot of them, but this actually seems like an archetype that they thoroughly play tested before they, like, decided to put the cards on print. And you see, turn one, he's got an awesome field. He's got double Omega and Minerva. Like, I would say that's a pretty good field because, I mean, he opened with Brilliant Fusion, and he's going to put both of his Mizukis back. You see I got the Regeki, but it's not going to be super good. 1/3 of my hand is RIP, so we're just going to lose 1/3 of my hand. Luckily, I am able to Regeki the Minerva without too much of a big deal. And then I just, man, like just being able to go into those Xyzs, I thought that Tigress was not that great originally. Oh my god, she's like my favorite one. The fact that you can just get your cards back from the fact that you can get cards back from the graveyard, you can take your Xyzs, like you can Xyz over one Xyz, you can bring out Tigress, you can detach the Xyz that you first had, and then get something from the graveyard that actually boosts attack, and then Xyz your Xyz over your Tigress using a Drantia. It's so good and it's so easy. You know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy because this is one of the only decks in the game that I can remember where you blow through your extra decks too. It feels like kind of like Utopia. Like you blow through your extra deck on like the first few turns, and I guess that's why Konami gave them their own pot of avarice, because they were probably like, wait a minute, the late game of this deck is going to be way too weak if we don't give them some way of recursion, some way of getting their cards back. Because yeah, like I've had many duels where I run through my extra deck like super fast, and even though they have they've got pot in the OCG, we don't have it obviously in the TCG. Pot would be super like stupid good in this deck, honestly, especially with things like Max C making it even easier. But look how easy I was just, or how easy it was for me to just get rid of both of those Omegas. Well, he still has one of them, but I mean, like I have a freaking 5,600 attack monster backed by a Solemn Warning. Like, what you gonna do to that, bro? What you gonna do to that? And Omega has nothing on that, so he's trying to fight back. The thing is, every time he uses Unizombies effect, like he can only attack into zombies, and like you're not gonna attack over a 5,600 attack monster. So at this point, he basically has to try and stall. But I mean, the deck does have piercing, so I'm really not sure that would have done anything. Just being able to go into any XC, you see how I'm able to say, okay, Tigress was good last turn, but I don't want Tigress anymore. Now I need Drantia to just blow up the Omega since I don't have a hand. Now I can go into Bullhorn. I can search another card, which I think at this point, I don't know what I would have searched. I mean, it's game. I can just attack over the Sage and then attack directly. It's just crazy. Like I might sound like I'm rambling because I have not been this excited for an archetype in a very long time. It's kind of crazy because it's not even fusion related, and this is another ridiculously stupid play. And by the way, I've got tons of these. Like this one is with, just keep in mind, he's going to do this, my boy Intenza, he's going to do this with one card. Let's go back here. Yeah, he's going to do this with one card. I'll go full screen so you guys can see everything. And you know what, just what's it called? Sorry, we're gonna run this at what's it called? We're running at times.5 just because of all the Beast Warrior stuff that you can do in this deck. And it looks like he's playing kind of like a male version that runs Wolf, and it runs you know, like Felix, because of all the milling that you do with Bujin Kakasuchi and whatnot. And he's able to summon what's it called, Amaterasu, which is just actually really good in this deck. And just look at the board he's able to create off of one card. And I think so much of it has to do with the fact that you can just normal summon and then go into Bullhorn and just basically have an XC and search out, you know, basically so many of the good Beast Warriors in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! We could possibly be seeing another Beast Warrior Revolution. Some people might not know what the heck I'm talking about when I say that. It's a Beast Warrior Revolution. It basically just means back in the second half of the Zecto era, where like kind of Fire Fist and Bujins and Constellars were like extremely good decks. By the way, like obviously he would have an easy OTK. Like if he was going second, this is clearly enough that like at this point he's just messing around until he gets his loot or until he gets what he's looking for. But clearly he would already have game. But the Beast Warrior Revolution was basically when Beast Warrior was the best type in the entire game, and it was generally accepted that like Fire Fist Bear was like one of the, like maybe the first or second best monster in the entire game. You see, he wants to go into I think it's Arcane of the World. It's the one that skips your opponent's turn, so your opponent just like, no Yu-Gi-Oh shall be played. Could you imagine if you played in an event and that actually happens? Someone summons like that many times obnoxiously, and they summon World and they just skip your entire turn, and you don't get to play any cards where Maxi wouldn't even matter, and then obviously they just, you know, kill you during their next turn. Like that is just insane. And all of this is possible really because of Juunishishi. Well, I guess you could probably build a version of this deck playing like zombies and stuff like that, but I don't know. I have not been like this giddy about an archetype in a very long time. It's probably been like a couple of years, honestly, since like the beginning of Duos Online. So anyways, what do you guys think of Juunishishi? I'm gonna have another video showing off how Juunishishi has helped other archetypes too, because like I said, I don't think it's just Juunishishi and how amazing and innovative and awesome the archetype is itself. I think it's the impact that it's going to have on other cards and other archetypes. Like you see, you know, a little bit of Bujins being played there, especially, you know, like all the XCs and whatnot. But anyways, I've been rambling for too long. Thank you guys for watching as always. Tell me what you guys think of Juunishishi. If you haven't played them, please get YGO Pro and play the damn deck. Watch some videos on how to play them if you don't understand how to play them like I didn't, because they're so freaking fun. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you have not already.